Good morning, everyone. Briefly, what I'm going to cover in this is some highlights of the higher education system as such, and what is the status of acceptability for graduates to the world of work, and what are some of the drawbacks in terms of the competencies which are there in the system. Then a little focus on the outcome based education and how teaching learning goes in the outcome based education, and how do the national education policy supports the teaching learning, and what changes need to be brought in into the system, and what are major recommendations with respect to the pedagogical approaches, what are the program outcomes and how do they relate to the instructional strategies which are in place. Then little focus on the lesson level outcome. I'll not go into details, but you have already the overview of the learning outcomes as maybe the revised taxonomy of Bloom's also. And finally, we'll take up the range of instructional methods and where we are and what should be our focus in order to enable our students to achieve the program outcome. That will be the outline which I'll be uh, adhering to. So, just to have a look at the higher education system. ये क्यों चिपक गया? चलो देखते हैं. Now, when you look to the higher education system, we have about 1,200 universities, and out of these, 165 in institutes of national importance, and then about 49,000 colleges and 12,600 standalone institute, which comprise of polytechnic, nursing institute, architectures, and so on. The gross enrollment ratio still in the higher education system as per the dashboard of Ministry of Education is 27%. That means 73% of our students who should be actually in the higher education system, each one of them is not in the higher education system. Reasons may be many, but it is very meager enrollment when you say gross enrollment ratio, that is 27%. And in the technical institutions, if you look, pay attention to 9,000 approximately the approved institutions, and about 30 lakhs is the approved income intake. And there are a number of seats which remain vacant at the diploma level, and even at the degree level also we are facing some problems. Formal education system per se, when we talk in terms of what is the purpose of the higher education system, it is primarily to develop competent people. Now, when I say develop competent people, a competent person is one who has the requisite knowledge in the subject domain. That subject may be civil, electrical, mechanical, management, or so on. In addition to the knowledge with respect to the concepts, principles, theories, models, etc., a person needs to possess specialized subject related technical skills. And he should be able to perform certain tasks. And in addition to that, what has become much more important are the attitudes and behavior of the person. Now, when I say attitudes and behavior, and it has been rightly said that attitude determines the altitude. And the world of work has accepted people who were not academically brilliant or having very high profiles, but the people who had the attitude which was favorable towards learning, maybe risk taking, maybe the people who had ability to work in teams, and the people who could show leadership skills or creative problem solving abilities. And here you can see that employability skills have been highlighted. For what purpose? That the people, after graduating from the system, there are three avenues which are open primarily. People go for the higher education system, they look for the employment, and the focus is on wage employment, and a few, maybe 1 to 2%, they get into entrepreneurial ventures. Now, thereby, the employability skills and entrepreneurial skills have been mentioned here. And when you try to examine what has been the status since 2014, there has been a lot of focus on outcome based education. Because when you talk in terms of, you must had the orientation in the very first session about the outcome based education, the whole system has been reversed in terms of, earlier we had input process output system. Now the system which we are trying to follow is that we start with graduate attributes, that means the competencies which a person need to possess. Then we try to determine the kind of curricular experiences that need to be provided in order to facilitate the attainment of those program outcomes by the learners. And if you have identified the curricular experiences that need to be provided, you need to align your teaching learning strategies, which actually provide the curricular experiences, to the attributes. That means the program outcomes. And finally, the assessment needs to be aligned to the graduates. So, the system, that means you start with what will be the outcome of the education system in terms of the graduate attributes or the competencies. And then you try to align your curriculum, your teaching learning, and assessment to those program outcomes. This is what we need to remember. And if we go by any program, and we have been talking of graduate attributes, but when you look to the program consists of courses, course 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So then each course consists of number of topics which have been driven from the program outcomes. So program outcome becomes the basis. So program outcomes help you in specifying course outcomes, and from the course outcomes we try to have the intended learning outcomes for each lesson, the transaction that is going to take place in the classroom, in the laboratory, in the field, or outside that. So when you look at specification of the outcomes, we start with program outcome, go to course outcome, then we start specifying or stating our intended lesson level outcomes. But when it comes to attainment of the outcomes, unless and until you ensure attainment by the students of the lesson level outcomes, you cannot attain, or the students cannot attain the course outcomes. And once the course outcomes have been attained, the program outcomes will be attained. So it is the, in this order we need to think, that the teacher interaction with the learner and enabling them to have the curricular experience depend upon the instructional approaches or pedagogical approaches which you prefer to have in your classroom, in lab, and so on. And the present system is not devoid of the drawbacks. Here you can have a glimpse of in 23, because I have 1 year data which is older. So you can see when it comes to the acceptability of our graduates, the maximum value which is available here is 61% for the BCom, right? And our 60% same for the MBA. But when you go to the BE BTech graduates, it's only 57%. And then if you look to the diploma holders, it is almost 28% of the diploma holders are acceptable to the world of work. So this is Skill India report, which was available in 2024. And if you still compare among the major five or six disciplines, you will see information technology. There is it is the maximum 65%, and as you proceed civil engineering, it was 34% in 23. But now still the trends are changing and civil engineering is picking up. And if you look at the international scenario, 77% of the employers face difficulty in filling the vacant position. And if you compare it with what happens in Indian scenario, 80% of our employers face difficulty in filling the vacant position. Now, there is little decline in comparison to 2022, but still it is very high. And it is not a story for one sector or another, but it is true for major sectors of the economy that employers face difficulty. And what has been expected by the world of work? These are the five major soft skills which have been highlighted in the international scenario, that the students have been found lacking: reliability, self discipline, creativity and originality, critical thinking and analysis, and reasoning and problem solving, and resilience and adapt. These are the most demanded soft skills as far as the international scenario is concerned. Now, even the National Education Policy 2020 said that our existing system is promoting rote learning among our learners. So, changes are required in curriculum, in pedagogy, in assessment, and student support system. This is for the higher education, it's available on page 38. Now, when the National Education Policy focused on engaging pedagogy, and it made it imperative that whatever pedagogical approaches we adopt or integrate into our teaching learning, they should actually facilitate attainment of program outcomes or course outcomes. And then these pedagogical approaches must cater to the diverse needs of the student, because the students who are taking admission, they differ with respect to number of variables. There are individual differences. So we are, when we go to the class, majority of us make use of lecture method, and that lecture method may or may not be suitable for different students because their learning style varies. There are students who listen or who learn through verbal learning. There are students who learn through visual learning. They have the visual learning style. There may be students who look for the holistic learning or global learning style or analytical learning style. So one the national education policy said one method doesn't fit all. So what we need to do is we need to think of variety of instructional strategies that will meet the needs of the learners. Another one, because at present, after COVID, the scenario has changed. We are not only having context based learning, but we need to look for the instructional approaches which are more appropriate for blended learning. And now, with online learning, we are completely online courses available with synchronous or and asynchronous activity. So, similar methods will not work for contact based learning, blended learning, and online learning. So, there has to be variety. Then it also said what works best for civil may not work best for mechanical engineering. What works best for mechanical may not work best for computer science and engineering. So even different disciplines would require different pedagogical approaches. And the environment in which we are living, which is characterized by VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Even this kind where we are having very rapid changes, maybe in political, social, economic milieu of the country, we have technological advancements taking place, we have subject or discipline specific new concepts, new theories emerging. There is a lot of uncertainty because we cannot actually predict things or phenomena or processes accurately. And there is complexity because each process, each phenomena is affected by multiplicity of factors, and you cannot actually control or predict by just having one factor in view. You need to take multidisciplinary perspective or interdisciplinary perspective for solving the complex problems which are faced by the society. So, need to focus on pedagogical approaches that promote multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary approaches. And then it made that your evaluation assessment needs to be aligned to your pedagogical strategies. Now, here, when you look at this, you can clearly say that national education policy focused on that we need to have pedagogy where the student is actively engaged. He becomes the center of attention and everything revolves around the student. And there is a spelling mistake. So, student centered pedagogical approaches need to be adopted, and teachers need to be given autonomy to innovate. Now, when you look at still the syllabus or the course which is specified, you will still find that traditional LTP, tutorial, and practicals. Lecture is not the only method which can be used. There is range of methods which is available to the teacher. So when the national education policy talked about the autonomy, it says teachers should have the flexibility to bring in innovations in the pedagogical approach in order to create conducive environment in the classrooms, in the laboratories, in the field, outside the institution, in the community, so that students can attain or achieve the program outcomes. The whole focus, because national education policy has also made a departure that we need to focus more on the learning outcomes, the outcome based approach, rather than going by the traditional teaching learning approach. It also recommended that technology needs to be integrated into teaching learning and thereby improving the efficiency, effectiveness, student involvement or engagement in the whole process. So, even increasing the access, improving the quality, and making the education more inclusive, that is where the technology can play the role. So, now let's come to that uh, before I switch over to the methods, let me just have your input with respect to what are the methods which are most commonly used by all of you in teaching learning. So I am pasting a link in the chat box. Please, hopefully you'll be able to access. So kindly access. I'm pasting it again for the convenience of the people. So you have the Google form, which would ask you to give your how frequently you use various methods of instruction before we go to the teaching learning. Thank you so much. Let me go back to the presentation. I'll pick up your responses at the appropriate place. So you have already done this, the Google form. Now, uh, when you just take cognizance of the program outcomes, now, when you look at the very first graduate attributes, because you will all agree with me, these are the 12 graduate attributes which have been taken by all the various programs, and we have simply referred to A to K, and we have been using this uh, as the basis for designing our courses and specifying our course outcomes. Now, the very first outcome is applying the knowledge of mathematics and science, engineering fundamentals, and engineering specialization. The question is applying. That means whatever concepts, theories, models a student has learned, it is not only understanding those concepts, principles, theories, and models, but it goes beyond the understanding in applying the concepts in new situation, because apply is always in a new situation. It is not the condition or the same situation in which the learning has taken place. That means whatever learning experience have been provided, the examples which have been used, the student is able to apply. For example, a school student who is able to learn addition, subtraction, mathematics goes to the real world, and when the person is given money to buy something, the person is involved in what will be the balance. He is using subtraction. If he has to calculate the price, he adds the price of different items. He's applying the learned knowledge. Now, when you look to the advertisement which is coming in, and a student, a child who is telling his mother that he can take the bucket up and he's using the principle of pulley, it is nothing but he's applying the learned concepts in a new situation. That is what is needed. And unless and until those hands on experience are provided in the classroom, the student will not be able to apply the learned knowledge in the new situation. So it is engineering knowledge you can provide through lecture method, but when it comes to apply, lecture method will not help. You need to think differently. Problem analysis. Now, when it comes to the problem analysis, it requires identification, formulation, analysis of the complex problem. And this is where, again, it is not restricted to the classroom or the laboratory. Maybe the lab experiences and the field experiences becomes much more important, and it is not lecture. Maybe the another method, problem based learning, becomes much more important. Design and development of solutions. Now, again, this is interlinked to the problem analysis. And here, when you say problem analysis, problem based learning is one, project based learning is another. But design and development of solution is interlinked with that, and you need to take those methods. Lab, when you say conduct investigations of complex, they may be lab based, they may be field based. So, need to think of methods which are not classroom based or lab based. You need to use variety of methods. You can use technology when you use simulations, etc., or when you take the problems for optimization. You are actually conducting investigation of complex problem and taking into account a multiplicity of variables, and that would require the integration of technology. Modern tool usage. Now, look at these, that whatever are the tools which are available in specific disciplines or the IT tools, they need to be, the person need to acquire the capability to use those tools, apply those appropriate techniques. Now, these five program outcomes may involve the subject specific knowledge and skills, and when these fall in maybe the cognitive and the psychomotor domain. But when you look at the engineering and society, it is more, you may have the knowledge, but when you apply the things, you don't take care of that knowledge. So attitude becomes much more important, your behavior becomes much more important. So engineering and society, environment and sustainability, ethics, teamwork, communication, and learning to learn skill, or that is lifelong learning, all these fall in the domain of affective domain. And project management and finance has a combination of knowledge and skills as well as attitudes. Now, looking at these program outcomes, one particular method may not be, may not suffice. And another point you need to keep in mind is that at present the instructional strategies, and NEP has also made it clear that focus is on rote memorization, that is, remembering and understanding, and less on applying, analyzing, evaluating, creating level learning outcome. So we are not actually developing higher order thinking skills among our students. So change is required. And when it comes to psychomotor domain, lab where you provide one practice to the learner is again not sufficient. So changes need to be there in the way we organize the lab work or the practical work. Then affective domain, which is the world of work, has also focused on that desired soft skills are not available with the learners. So they have already made it clear. Now, when you look at, oh, I think you have already done. So when you look at instructional strategies, the teaching learning methods, a range of methods is available because you have different modes, and in the contact mode you have teacher centered strategies, student centered strategies, and mixed strategy. Now when I say teacher centered, that means all decisions with respect to what to teach, how to teach, when to teach, these are taken primarily by the teacher. When it comes to student center, the student has the autonomy and flexibility to take the decision. And mixed strategy is where both teacher and student is involved actively. You can think in terms of strategies, in terms of expository approach, guided discovery approach, and discovery approach. Now, when you say expository approach, that means where minute details are provided to the learner, and there where all steps which he or she has to take are provided to the learner. Expository. So your lecture is one. The way we organize our lab at present, where we give a demo and then ask the student to follow those steps, imitate, and then practice, and then there is evaluation, is nothing but expository approach which is being used. When it comes to discovery approach, you allow the learner to immerse in the environment and discover the concepts, principles, theories for himself. Discovery. And when it comes to guided discovery, that means you provide autonomy to the learner to explore, but there is a teacher who is available providing guidance and step by step instruction wherever they are needed. Or the simple way of classifying the instructional strategies is based upon the number of people. So you have large group methods where you have more than 30 students, small group below 30, and discovery approach where sorry, individualized method of instruction where it is catering to the needs of individual learner. So you can classify that. So lecture method, just to give you a glimpse of, large group method consists of lecture method primarily. Small group methods consists of, now when you say lecture method, let this is not the only method which can be used. You can think of, because most of the time lecture method becomes one way interaction, unless and until lectures can be as effective as other methods can be. But only thing we need to remember is lecture method needs to be interactive. That means it needs to be two-way interaction taking place between the learner and the instructor or among the learners. And for that matter, one needs to integrate wide variety of activities or tasks in the lecture method to make it interactive. I'll come to that, but let me just let you know that there are all these small group methods. So lecture method, one way is not to be preferred, but two ways to be preferred. When it comes to small group discussion is one method which develops not only cognitive level learning outcomes or enable the learners to achieve cognitive level learning outcomes, but also ability to work in groups, communication, listening, speaking, behavior, group discussion. Also, it promotes independent learning. It promotes learning individually, right? So, group discussion is helpful in discussing a topic, in resolving a conflict, or in finding a solution to the problem. It can take any form. So, small group discussion. So, if you have a class of 80 students, you can have 10 groups working in your class with 8 students each, and they are asked to have a discussion among themselves for a particular topic, resolving a conflict, or you have an issue which needs to be dealt with. So, group discussion is an important uh, instructional strategy which can be easily integrated in your classroom. Case studies. Now, when you look at the case studies, you have now number of case studies available on Science Direct. When you refer to the journal, you come across in civil, electrical, mechanical, electronics, there are number of case studies which are available. Now, a teacher who's going to teach, why should I simply go and just, because case studies help the learners to acquire ability to analyze, ability to evaluate, ability to apply, ability to find solution to the problems. So, case studies can be easily integrated in your, maybe you have a class. So, only thing what we need to do is find out which is the relevant case study available in a journal which has been published. Maybe you would like to take the most part of it and just remove the solution part which is given there, or you may have the complete case study followed by the questions you would like to generate, and students need to answer that. You can also use this case study method in a blended learning mode where you ask the students to go to the link to the site, read that case study, come prepared for the classroom discussion with other students, and then you throw the questions which need to be answered, and they have a discussion and come out with the solution to the case study. You can think of it, can be used as a group method, small group method, or it can be used as a individualized method of instruction. Then seminars can also help the learners to have the deeper understanding of the topic, and it also promotes independent learning skills. It also provides an opportunity to improve upon the communication and the presentation skills of the learner. And seminar also provide an opportunity, if it's a group seminar, as I've written, it's going to ability to work in groups. Now, seminar uh, strategy, not to be used the way it is being used in the technical institution. The teacher gives the topic for the seminar or allows the student to select this topic, but then it is assumed that students have learned and students have understood. No, I would request, think of different ways of using this strategy, whereby you start when you go to your class for the first day or second day or maybe first week, and you ask the students to have a look at the syllabus, pick up one of the topics where they would like to give a seminar, maybe in small groups you have already constituted. And then once you have completed 3 4 topics, now students start making a presentation of the seminar on that topic in the class, which will serve more than one purpose, that it will lead to revision of the topic which has been dealt in the class. It has additional material from different resources, and students will clarify their doubts if they had, and it will generate healthy discussion in the classroom because you have already dealt that topic with the student. But if you look at the latest developments, then you may ask the student to prepare for the seminar and deliver, but you need to have thorough knowledge of the developments which have taken place, so that you can supplement wherever it is needed. So, seminar strategy. Demonstration, we have all been using when it comes to the traditional method of mm, actually giving a how to solve a numerical problem, how to do the derivations, how to do the calculations or chemical reactions, and so on. In the class, also, we have been giving the demonstration. And in the lab also, we have been giving the demonstration for complex skills. Complex, not very simple, where we ask the student to go to the manual and follow the steps given in the manual. Otherwise, you need to give a demonstration, right? I just don't go. Project work is also being utilized by us as major. I'll go to the details of project and problem little later, but in addition to that, role play games and tutorials. What has happened? Tutorials have been converted into the lectures. Most of the cases, because teachers think they are not able to cover the syllabus, so tutorials, which had a very specific purpose. It was to provide practice to the learner wherever it is needed. A course which has numerical, which has problems, which require maybe repetitive kind of practice, tutorials were, or tutorials could be used to deal with the specific problem faced by an individual. So wherever you need to provide practice, wherever you want to go and solve individual problems, tutorials need to be integrated into the teaching and learning very easily. Then you had computer assisted instruction, and now you have online courses. Now these are abundance of courses are available. NEPTIL है, AICT है, what is that? Education communication वाला जो UGC had given to that. Then you have other offering the courses. So there are 10 coordinators for on SWAYAM platform. But in addition to that, you have edX, Coursera, and all other technical universities across the world. MIT is one of the very important source where you can lay hand on the notes, on the PPTs, on the assignments, etc., on the project works which have been taken up, so on. Now, can you try to pick up, identify some of those resources which are available and integrate into your teaching learning? That is the question which you need to answer. And here I would focus more when the NEP has said that pedagogy need to be engaging, pedagogy need to have the student involvement to the maximum, and teacher need to innovate. Now, just going back to what you have said in the form, let's have a quick look at your responses. Now, see, when it comes to lecture method, majority of you have said that you are using lecture method, and no one has said never used. When it comes to small group discussion, I will say again, you will see that out of the 104 responses, 34, one third, little one third, have said they make use of small group discussion. When it comes to, it's sometimes used, small group method is sometimes used by the majority of the people. When it comes to case study, sometimes majority of you have said 54%, so almost 50% have said that it is sometimes used, but there are people who say never used. Here, when you look at 47% of you have said role play is sometimes used, right? Again, you look to 50, almost near about 49%. Then look at demonstration. So the people who are using courses which have theory and practical. So majority of you are making use of demonstration. Otherwise, sometimes it is being used. Then you have project work. Again, 50-50 is the kind of response you are getting. Here, problem based learning. I'm so happy. 62% of you have said you are using problem based learning. I'll come to that. And then seminar, very few, 35 only said, sometimes 58. Okay, because this is a strategy where you cannot use all the time. So sometimes presentations be 62% have said, tutorial to 72. True. I'm amazed that you have said you are using tutorials. That's so wonderful if tutorials are being used. Now, coming to that, the new methods, think pair share about 51%, 64% of you 1 minute paper, good one. But then 42, okay, muddiest point, questioning to everybody does, but again I found that 52% of 50 to 62, 62 or 82, 82, good one. Okay, so looking at some of the innovative, I'm happy that you are using active learning strategies, because we have people from the south, so they are using, not from the people from the north, not many of them. So virtual laboratories, again 60% said, 60 of you said you are using virtual labs. Fine, good one. I think this gives me an idea. Now going back to this, let's have a quick look at how do we, what methods actually need to be used. कहाँ गया? हाँ जी. Now, here, I would say that the methods which have been, the people from one region, I would say they use it, but we find that active learning strategies. So, friends, I have been saying that active learning strategies, which less than 50% in some cases are utilizing it. Now, these active learning strategies, which are important, which can ensure student engagement, are very important. When you say 1 minute paper, 1 minute paper requires students to write in 1 minute what has been the most important learning in the class for past 20 minutes or 25 minutes, or maybe you would like to use this strategy during the end of the lesson. But during the teaching learning, after every 20 minutes, you can ask your students, when you have completed the concept, you have completed the types of any concept, and then you are dealing with the application. At every major milestone, you can have this 1 minute paper where you raise a question, give 1 minute to the student, and then ask them to write the most. You can monitor the progress of your student and find out what has been going right and where was the problem. If there is a problem, you can take a corrective and supplement what you have already dealt with, give more example if need be, or you can see the difficulty experience and can remove that. Think, pair, share is another strategy which can be easily integrated. Now, when you say think, so that means as a teacher, you raise a question, allow the individual learner to think for a while, then ask the person to share the answer with the person sitting next to him. That means you pair the learners and they are asked to share their responses to the question with each other. Now, the benefit of this technique is that they will have another perspective of arriving at the answer to the question. Maybe the other student is thinking differently and they will listen to that. And they'll also develop rational thinking and critical thinking, how to evaluate. And they would like to reflect back on what they have, the answer they have already given, and then reach a consensus. This strategy would involve your learner more actively in your classrooms. Muddiest point, in contrast to 1 minute paper, muddiest point is that maybe in the class at different points you raise a question which has been the most confusing point which you didn't understand at all. So they can write that point and you can take the corrective to improve upon the learning on the part of the learner. So muddiest point can provide a feedback to the teacher, which is the content area which has not been understood by the learners in the class. Discussion I've already focused on. Brainstorming is a technique of generating large number of ideas with deferred judgment. Now, when you say generating large number of ideas, this technique provides an opportunity to each one of the students in the class, whereby they are forced to think in different directions. So here you are able to promote creative thinking on the part of the learner when you pick up an open-ended problem to be taken up in the class. Say, for example, you're teaching mobile phones or mobile technology, and then you ask them, what is an additional feature that can be added to the mobile phone? Or what would you like to, a thing which you would like to change in the mobile phone? Now, here you are accepting the various responses. There may be a weird response given by the student, but you're accepting that response. And the students, you continue with this process, first student to 60th student, and then you repeat this process till the ideas are over with the learners. So, brainstorming is a technique which can be used maybe for 1 hour, depending upon the topic you have selected. Maybe you are having half an hour brainstorming, or maybe you are giving only 20 minutes whereby 1 to 60 students can generate one idea depending upon the time and the breadth and scope of the topic you have picked up. Then, question answer technique you have been using. Only three things which you need to remember is when you are using this strategy, then what you can do is pay attention to the framing of question. You need to frame questions which assess learning outcome from the remembering to the creative creating level. So all the six different levels are covered, not questions which are only at the remembering and understanding level where we pose question, define this, state the principle of this, what do you mean by this. No, you go and give them problems where they need to apply, or you pose a question where they need to formulate a strategy, evolve a strategy, formulate a policy, formulate a plan, design something, so that your questions are at the higher level and they promote higher order thinking. Reversal questioning is a technique. Anybody who can say what is a reversal questioning? Because some people have said they are using this. Over to the audience member. What is reversal questioning? Over to the audience. G.
Ma'am, it is asking a question
Right.
in such a way so that it will help the students to understand the idea better.
Think of you are involving learners. So, not a teacher is not posing a question, but students are involved in reversal questioning.
Is it supplementary questions asked by the students, ma'am?
Right, right. Not supplementary questions, but you allow the students to to work in groups, maybe to spare the student. And one student poses a question. Can we? Say I'm thinking of. Can I buy electrical vehicle? The other student. Do you think we have the appropriate recharging facilities available in India? Second question. Third question. Is it economical to buy this? So, as you pose a question, you are not posing a question, but you are allowing the students giving a topic so that they pose a question to each other and they don't give answer to that. What will happen? They'll explore the various aspects of that particular topic, and this will promote in-depth learning among the learners. So it is questioning technique which is used in the class by pairing the students where they do not provide answer to each other but try to generate a list of questions related to the various aspects. So this technique can be easily integrated. This will actually give them the breadth and scope of the topic which need to be understood. Then short cases and scenario. As I said, case studies, short cases maybe which is a paragraph explaining an anecdote which has or a thing which has happened in a particular institution or in an industry or in the community, and they are likely to take up those cases or the scenarios, and thereby they develop the higher level abilities of application and problem solving. Then jigsaw, even short cases and scenario will be also independent learning also is promoted, whereby student is involved in reading and then critically analyzing the case and then coming out what is needs to be applied. Jigsaw. Anybody who would like to say what is jigsaw?
Ma'am, jigsaw means like we are giving certain topics to like five. If we are doing groups, we are giving like five groups, five topics. Then
Hmm.
each one will like explain about that topics.
ओके ठीक है बट इसको थोड़ा सा रिफाइन करिए एनीबडी वुड लाइक टू सप्लीमेंट डॉक्टर शर्मा वुड यू लाइक टू सप्लीमेंट आपका
Learning together. I'm learning together.
लर्निंग टुगेदर तो है लेकिन कैसे जिक्सा इज लर्निंग टुगेदर
Madam,
मींस
madam,
जी
may I,
जी सर
madam, actually,
हाँ श्योर
jigsaw,
सर
madam, jigsaw is maybe, madam, there are many types of puzzle that lead to a formation of a complete topic.
Hmm.
So student
Right. Not
student solve these puzzles to make a single topic. So this is compilation of puzzles.
okay, maybe it is not having puzzles. Say, for example, the topic is taken. Topic has, as I gave an example, you have a concept. Say, I am teaching motivation. Say, for example, taking a simple one. It's a cooperative learning strategy. Prabir, ठीक है. Prabir, would you like to give answer to that? What is Jigsaw?
Ma'am,
Yes,
in
ma'am.
that topic, we are
Yes,
like
ma'am.
dividing to five topics.
Can you hear me?
Just a minute, Prabirji. Dr.
Yeah, madam.
Shiv Kumar is speaking. Just a
To
minute. Dr. Shiv, please complete your answer.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I have already informed. I have already answered the question. We are topping the today's topic into five to six, like
Okay,
five to
okay,
six
okay.
topics.
Okay.
Then again, we need to create a group. Then
हाँ,
again, they will discuss and they will answer the questions.
ठीक है. ओके, चलो आती हूँ. हाँ जी, डॉक्टर कौन थे वो? नॉट प्रबीर. हाँ जी, डॉक्टर प्रबीर.
yeah, ma'am. To my mind, it's like other some students they will be dependent on each other so that they can succeed to learn.
Uh, just a minute. Now, when you say jigsaw, jigsaw is a strategy whereby you constitute groups. Say, for example, I'm going to teach motivation. I'm taking an example from management. So, motivation concept is there, then types of motivation is there, then theories of motivation is there, then there are strategies for motivating employees or strategies for motivating students is there. Now, say for example, I have these five parts with me. Now, what happens? You constitute group of five students. In each group consists of five students. You assign part one to one student, part two to another student, part three to another student, part four to another student, part five to another student. So, five students are learning five different parts of the topic, and they come back to the class the next day or maybe day after, and then the person who has learned part one will teach the part one to all the other four, second would teach the part two to other four, and so on. Or you can bring in variation in this strategy whereby you have students learn part one, part two, part three, part four. So part one again combines with part one of the various groups. They discuss and come to the consensus, and then they make presentation for part one in the class. So jigsaw is where you break down the topic into its various constituent parts and ask different students to learn the part. And you are right when you say it provides an opportunity to the learner to learn from each other, and they can clarify their doubts and be more active when they are learning from each other. So, this is a strategy which can be used, and you can identify the topics for uh, giving them for jigsaw method. Then you have fishball. Anyone who can say what is a fishball method of instruction? Over to you. Fishball. G.
Like we make
Can
two circles.
somebody?
We make two circles. In that, like inner and outer circle is there. Like, isn't it fine?
Fine, fine. I think you are absolutely right when you say, Dr. Sharma, would you like to answer this, or Dr. Anoop? कोई करना चाहेगा? You have raised the hands. Hello. Would you like to? I think the answer is correct when he says that, say we have a class of 60. So you divide the class into two groups, 30 students, 30 students. 30 students become the internal circle, and then 30 becomes the outer circle. So you give a topic for discussion. So first the inner circle will discuss, the outer circle will observe those that inner circle discussion, and then the outer circle becomes the inner circle becomes the outer circle. Now in this manner there will be greater understanding, because you are listening to 30 members, and then you are trying to modify your own thinking, and you are likely to bring in certain additional points when you become the inner circle. So it provides a better opportunity to the students to learn and then go deeper into the subject matter, and thereby they also improve upon their discussion skills, or as you say, group discussion. They are involved, so communication skills are improved and better learning can occur, right? So these are some of the active learning strategies which can be easily integrated into your classroom, and you can provide time where the students are actively involved. And here, I'm not going to read out, but I also scanned some of the literature which is available, and I found that there were many studies which are available, which are meta analytical studies. And you can see 57 studies, 38 studies, and they have all said that when you try to integrate uh, uh, active learning strategies, and you try to engage the learners more actively, the learning is better. The learning is better. And then you have said project work. Now, this project work and problem based learning, there are two things. Anybody who can explain the difference between the project work and the problem based learning? Over to the members. Hanji, over to the members. What is the major difference between project based learning and problem based learning? Over to you.
Problem based learning, as per my understanding, like it's kind of case study where the cognitive level is little bit.
No. No. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Hanji, anybody else who would like to throw light on what is the difference between project based learning and problem based learning? G.
Now, a product can have a number of problems.
नहीं, number of problems to hai, but how this method differs from project based learning?
So, according to me, I'm just guessing. On
G.
project, we are focusing on solving the number of problems associated. Whereas in the problem-based learning, we are just focusing on a simple problem.
Oh, oh, oh. Chalo, anybody else?
Ma'am, my guess
Ji,
is
Ji, sir.
that in project-based learning there are many things unknown.
Hmm. Hmm? Okay.
Many things unknown, and problem-based learning means the things are known. Just we have to explore that.
थोड़ा सा इसको वेरी करेंगे. Just have a look at
Madam,
the. हाँ जी, over to you, sir.
I think it is vice versa. In problem-based learning, we may not have a solution always.
हाँ.
We may improvise a little bit, and we may end up with some clarity on the topic. But in project-based learning, we know what is the final outcome, and we work towards the final outcome. This
Okay.
is my
Thank
case.
you. Thank you very much. Just have a look at the process. Now you will come to know that when it comes to the project work, it requires application of the learned knowledge and skill to find solution to the problem, right? Whatever the students have already learned, they would like to apply that knowledge and skill to find solution to the problem. But when it comes to the problem based learning, there is a problem, and the resources are created by the teacher. Those resources which are needed to solve that problem, they are made accessible to the learners, and the students try to acquire knowledge, skills which is needed to address that problem. And then they individually first learn that and come back, have a discussion with the group member, and then they try to reach a consensus, the approach which they would like to follow to find a solution. Then they design the solution for that problem, and maybe here it culminates. And then if it goes or extended, the student may be given an opportunity to actually implement that design which they have come out. So your whole orientation is that you are not teaching the knowledge skills first to the learner, but you are giving a problem and they would like to find out. Say, for example, I'm a person who doesn't have knowledge of the car, right? Engine. So my car breaks down. No, I know if I am at a point where no help is available, maybe the Google becomes my basis to find out what kind of problem could be there. So what could be the possible reason for or cause for this kind of problem? What is it that I need to know to find solution to that problem? So you start with the problem which is complex and you identify the component, which knowledge, which skill is required, and you try to acquire that and then come out with the design for the solution of that problem, and it is reviewed and finalized. This is a major difference. So again, you will see, I don't only talk of major project work. Can we think of having minor project work integrated into our teaching learning? Just taking an example of civil engineering, people teach timber and characteristics of timber and so on. Now ask the student to go to the timber market in groups, have the timber pieces, because there are a number of pieces which are available free of cost, and they can collect those pieces, gather the information from the timber market about the differences in different types of timber, then the price of timber, then durability and so on, have a good idea of the various aspects of timber. When they come back to the class, they can have discussion and collate the information which has been gathered by the different groups. Now, this first hand experience will learning will be more, rather than teacher teaching the characteristics of timber, different types of timber. Now, again, you can think of, like you are talking about the you are talking about the problems faced by the community. Ask the students to go to the community on Saturday and Sunday nearby, and local community may try to allocate different areas to different groups of students. They collect the first hand information about what are the major problems faced with respect to the civil engineering field of civil engineering or electrical, depending upon what you are teaching, and then collect information with respect to the major problems faced, then come to the class and prioritize those problems, and then work on different problems in their project work. Now, this is where you again create a link with the real life, and the learning will be remain there with the students. And this is where they have the relevance, the context specific problems are dealt. So problem solving ability would be developed. So think of how, again, wide variety of studies, meta-analytical studies, which says that project work leads to higher academic achievement, and it also improves upon the academic performance of the learner. Then this is also where you can see that critical thinking skills, which are essential, they are being developed with the project based learning. So these two meta-analytical studies pointed out to creative. Now, the same way, problem based learning. Now, problem based learning, in addition to the project based, it promotes independent as well as group learning. It helps the learner to be more engaged in critical thinking, and it also promotes multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary kind of learning. So when you are picking up problems or projects, in both cases you can think of, at present only discipline specific project are given. Can we think of having projects or problems which require multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary perspective? So, can we club one student each from civil, mechanical, electrical, computer, and then they jointly take up a project, and whereby you can actually promote interdisciplinary learning? What projects they can pick up and then work on those projects. So problem based learning, again, you can see the variables which get affected is the academic achievement, the motivation, willingness to exert effort, and attitude towards the subject that is developed, means that becomes more favorable. Then it also helps in achieving the learning outcomes by the students. This is another meta-analytical study by Sutiana. And then you can see attitudes, I've already said, problem solving ability is developed, and the effect size has been high here. Problem solving ability, so you can see even the satisfaction level of the students is more if you actually integrate problem based learning in your teaching learning. So ample evidence exists with respect to the subjects in science, engineering, mathematics, STEM courses. Another instructional strategy which we should think of, because uh, there are students who are very good in your subject area. Maybe a student is or a highly intelligent student is there, or high achiever is there, or there is a student who has in-depth understanding of your subject. Can that student uh, be made responsible for teaching one or two topics, or given an opportunity to provide instruction to the other peer members? So you can think of identifying 10 or maybe 5 or 8 students who can do justice to the 8 topics which you have in the syllabus. Ask them to go in for peer teaching. So you can think of having small groups, or you can have the student coming and teaching to other students, and thereby what will happen, the more confidence you will inculcate in the student who is teaching, more in-depth understanding, because when you have to teach you have to prepare for that. And it also provide an opportunity to other students to clarify their doubts without hesitation, because you can ask 10 times that same question to your own peer member rather than asking the question 10 times to the teacher. So, and the language which a presenter will use will be much more understandable too, because they are of the same age, maybe. So it is more, the similarities would be there and they'll be able to understand that. So peer teaching concept can be used by all of us. So again, there are a number of studies which say student learning, then problem solving skills can be improved, and then academic achievement is positively affected. Now, these are some of the findings of meta analytical studies. Then there is another thing which we can think of, team teaching. Just give me 5 minutes and then I'll try to wind up. Team teaching. Now, here, why team teaching? Think of a subject. You can think of a person may be very good in theory, another may be very good in applying that theory in the real life. You can think of the same discipline team teaching also. Now, this can be one situation. Another could be that nowadays, when you're talking of applied mathematics, applied physics, what is happening? There is a lot of failure rate in these subjects. And one of the drawbacks has been that a teacher who has the mastery in mathematics is dealing with the subject in, I don't say all, but there may be instances where a person is very good in mathematics, concepts and principles, formula, etc. But when it comes to applying that mathematics in the field of civil engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, maybe the person has limited knowledge. What justice can be done by a person who has the understanding of electrical engineering and basic understanding of that mathematics? He can do better justice. So I would say, why can't we think of having a team teaching concept where the person from mathematics teach the basic maths formula or the theories and so on, and the person from electrical engineering comes in and gives electrical engineering example and say where this formula gets applied in electrical engineering. Second thing, which it will, the drawback which we have at present, the first year students who have lesser understanding of electrical or civil or mechanical, they are asked to learn the application of physics in electrical, mechanical, civil. So, can we think of that sequencing of courses? Maybe another thing which we need to think in our curriculum. So, but team teaching can overcome, or you have one person very good in applying to same subject matter teacher, and there is another person, say there is one person who has the industrial experience and one faculty member who doesn't have. So maybe can they go in for team teaching where the person from the same discipline can provide more examples from the industry scenario because he has the first hand exposure. Can we think of using team teaching there? So learning would be more realistic and more applicable. And then technology, when we talk in terms of, I'll simply say that all these things which you have, you can use technology. And here, even for the fully online, blended learning is one which we should think of. And for blended learning, uh, sorry, 1 minute, one flipped classroom is one which can be easily, so you can think of giving a reading assignment, case study, journal article which is available online, ask the people to view the video which is available. Think of neptel notes are available, videos are available, ask, try to link it with the resources which are available online. Ask the students to go through those resources, come back to the class, and then you engage them in problem solving. You ask them, give them a case to find solution to the case, or you give them the numericals for solving, and so on. So you can, or research article, and ask them to critically evaluate a piece of research in the class where they discuss that issue with other students, and you are there to supplement what they have actually understood. So this is one. And when you talk in terms of fully online courses, synchronous and asynchronous activities, so one can think of the various activities which can be integrated into synchronous and asynchronous. So I hope this is clear. So another thing which you have said, virtual. So I would say nowadays, your IIT, your Amrita University, many engineering colleges, they have come out with virtual laboratory facility. So even your virtual labs, Purdue University, Marriott, they also provide for. So you can think of, and some of you have already, 70 members have said they are already integrating virtual labs. Virtual labs cannot replace the actual laboratory experience, but they can be easily used to provide more practice, more confidence to the learner. And they can also use these V labs at their own convenience. So even the flexibility that can is available to the learner, and they can repeat that experiment number of times when V labs are available. Then I would say that you need to identify, as I did for Purdue, I did for Maryland. There are number of courses which are virtual labs which are available. So think of integrating virtual labs, and even the experiments where for which you don't have the facility, virtual labs can compensate for that. So here you can see the pharmacy number of labs, virtual labs. McGraw-Hill has also created. HHMI interactive resources are available, virtual interactive. So different disciplines you will come across, different biology corner, VLab, IIT Delhi. IIT Delhi has also that kind. Even your booksellers, they provide you resources, internet resources. So for different disciplines, You have access to books, you have access to open journals. They can be easily, and they have podcast, web series, so you can even video logs, podcasts are also available. So try to find out where the relevant resources available so technology can be utilized. This is IUCE, and one of the best examples was Hyderabad. One person started with the summer internship, and he gave a seminar there, and it has successfully worked and now being utilized by a number of IT industries or computer related industry, where virtual internship, where a project is given to the student or a problem is given, and all cloud resources are available. So think of where this strategy can be integrated in developing the skills among your, and then IT, you or might be using spoken tutorials. Think of where these spoken tutorials can be used in other subjects. This is another strategy which can be utilized. So this is where I would say that nowadays you have variety of resources available, variety of methods which can be integrated into teaching learning. Don't pay attention more to the lecture method. Think where a little variation can make a difference. So, in the beginning of the semester, just have a look at the program outcomes and the course outcomes, and wherever the course outcome comes with applying and higher than application, that means analyzing, evaluating, creating, that is problem solving, then you need to think in different direction. Don't think of simply using lecture, which remains most frequently used method. Bring variation. So you will be able to enable the students to achieve higher level of learning outcomes. Over to you. Any question if you have at this stage, or any point you would like to make at this point? G. Over to the audience member.
Ma'am, one simple clarification I need.
G, sir.
Difference between discussion and brainstorming, please.
Hanji, discussion is that student come prepared with the topic, and they try to focus on the topic to clarify the topic, right? Brainstorming is promoting creativity, imagination, originality among our students, whereby there are open ended problems given to the students and they generate ideas. Now, say, for example, you are talking about say pollution, we are talking about. So I say there is a lot of high the pollution in Delhi region, say NCR region, is very high. Now, this issue has been with us for years, but there is no typical solution to this problem, because it is again a very complex problem. It doesn't pertain to the design of engines, the use of fuels. It also has a component where public attitude is also involved to a large extent. Now, there can be different ways of controlling air pollution. Now, you raise this issue, student has been experiencing this problem, and they may come out with very different solution to the problem, right? So they are only generating ideas. You are not assessing the right or the wrongness of that idea, but you are going on jotting down those ideas. So weird to weird idea is accepted by the teacher, and thereby you are involving each and every person in that brainstorming. ठीक है जी? So here they are not discussing the topic with each other, but they are simply giving their thoughts of dealing with the problem. So it doesn't involve discussion among the students in any way. So discussion is where exchange of ideas between or among the learners takes place.
Thank you,
Clear
ma'am.
हुआ?
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Ji, madam, how to decide that which teaching learning method is suitable for which level? एक मिनट, आपका सवाल है which level of student. मैम ऐसे है, student is one component, and that's why we say you cannot actually, when it is a class where contact based teaching is taking place, we cannot really have differentiated, sorry sir yeah, sir sorry sorry sir. So when we say we are not actually going for differentiated learning by the style of the student or the level of the student, but what we promote is that you use variety of instructional strategies whereby, or you integrate variety of resources so that the different learning styles of learners, their needs are met. Even when you look at, I won't say that you go by one method for one type of student, even that is wrong. Now when you say, it is said in outcome based education, it is said given sufficient time, each student will be able to learn. So only thing is variety of methods. Say for example, you are now, when we say media needs to be integrated into teaching learning, that is where you are catering to the verbal learner as well as the visual learner. When you say you have global learner, sorry, global learner and holistic learner, global learner means you are giving an overview of the topic in the beginning, and then you are dealing with each step minutely. You are actually catering to the analytical learner, right? When you say that you are trying to first give explanation in English, and then if need be you can integrate Hindi explanation, you are catering to the students who have different medium of instruction, Hindi or English. That's why it is said online learning, you now the same course is translated into 60, 70 languages. So if that kind, now there is a lot of focus on having programs in Punjabi, Hindi, Sanskrit, etc., Telugu, and so on. Now why? Because you would like to cater to the people who belong to different regions and their mother tongue is different. So I would say maybe in a contact mode, it is not possible to go in for, unless and until you have sections or you have differentiated instruction or you go for individualized instruction. There it is possible, otherwise use variety. G. And keep in mind your program outcomes and course outcomes. Acha, can we get the list of various instructional strategies shared in the Google form? Sure, Dr. Tripathi, I'll send that to all of to the coordinator, and she can share with all of you. I can send. Ji. Then there is share the notes. Okay, maybe then PDF will be sent to you. Okay. Any other question? Anything you would like to add to? Because when you are trying to select a strategy, you need to keep in mind the program outcome, course outcome, or intended learning outcomes for the lesson, the level of the learner. Maybe when students are very young, so, or the students have the knowledge, discussion would be more fruitful when people have the understanding, they can get into discussion. So which level and what topic you are going to give them for discussion, and what level of performance you are expecting from them. So that is very important to keep in mind. Sari cheezein, and then the nature of the content which you are going to deal with, that becomes the basis for selecting the instructional strategy. Hanji, time which is available to you. One of the teachers said she is using seminar strategy. I asked How many members are there? She said 90. How many days are there teaching? 90. If you give topics to the students independent, she said individual seminars, that is not possible. Not possible. So each topic cannot be even used for seminar. G. So friends, thank you very much. I think I have already exceeded my time. Thank you very much.